For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. How do you solve a problem like Claudia? Claudia Conway, Kellyanne Conway. The mother-daughter drama is heating up this week, and Bobby Moynihan from NBC's Mr. Mayor will be joining us on the show this week.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here, back on The Scribble. You know, we always like to comment on things that are in the news, and this week is no different. So, earlier in the week, Claudia Conway, that's the teenage daughter of Kellyanne Conway, remember Trump's mouthpiece? Well, they got into a bit of a tiff, mom and daughter, and they've had some very public spats in the past. Well, this time things crossed the line because a topless photo of the 16-year-old girl ended up appearing on Kellyanne Conway's Twitter page. So that leads to a whole bunch of different discussions. Is mom in the wrong for tweeting something like that? Did mom in fact tweet it, or was mom hacked? And secondly, why was the girl taking photos of that in the first place? So when that story broke and it all fueled up and blew up, I guess, social media on Tuesday, I commented with a link to an article that I wrote a couple of years ago that basically is telling kids to have some self-respect and not take naked photos of themselves. Well, I gotta tell you, the insults and the Twitter mob came at me hard, came at me. I didn't take naked pictures of a girl. I didn't post naked pictures of a girl, but I was in the wrong for telling kids to have more self-respect. Actually, the title is, Hey Kids, Have More Self-Respect Than Taking Nude Pics for Attention. Bonnie Winters, our fearless producer, is on the line to chime in on the mob mentality of when teen girls attack. Hi, Bonnie.
Well, hi, JB. How's it going?
Well, I'm a bit bruised, but... Here's the deal. I mean, you know the Conway story. You've also, this is the funny thing, Bonnie is actually our editor. She edited that column, so you know my thoughts on this. You're a parent, you're a grandparent. We've got to give everybody the background here. Now, you've got boys. You haven't had girls, but still, a child is a child. What are your thoughts, first off? We'll talk about the mob in a second. What are your thoughts on a teenager taking naked pictures of themselves? That's the question. Naked pictures of themselves. Not for distribution, not that mom saw, not that they ended up on social media. A teenager taking naked pictures, Bonnie.
I think my first question would be, why? My second question would be, don't you have a mirror? I mean, can't you just look at yourself if you want? I mean, why take a picture of yourself? For whom are you taking that picture?
Now, I know, because I've known Bonnie for a very long time, she's going to think that I'm making an age joke, but I'm not. Is that...
Sure you are. I know you are.
after we get off the air, Bonnie, yes. But you're from a different generation than I am. But what my point is that we didn't have these camera phones and selfies that we could then blast a photo out to, again, literally hundreds, thousands, and millions of people. But we were also growing up in a time where we didn't have that need. You weren't, I mean, you've been married for many years, you weren't wooing your husband by showing skin and being half naked in a mirror and teasing him with photos of that, because it didn't exist. That just wasn't the time.
Well, exactly. I just can't fathom it. I can't. I don't understand it at all.
But now we live in a society where, even people have turned social media pages into dating apps. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people ask me, just message me out of the blue, are you single? Or same thing on Twitter. And then I'm called out for being ashamed of my relationship because I don't say, oh, I'm with so-and-so. And it's like, well, that's also just private information. We're just in such a world where people expect that if you're married, you need to put that out there. You need to tell the world you're married. Why can't people just have a low-key relationship? So yes, we're in a different society now where the way that you get attention, and we've tried this on my Instagram page where we'll have half-naked pictures of my guy, that gets far more likes than a picture of my lunch that I'm having, that I burnt. And you know that I burn my lunch all the time. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, we've tested this. So we'll have a picture of the two of us together. Yeah, it gets a lot of likes. A picture of the two of us and him with his shirt off, way more likes. And that's just the kind of society that we're in. So is that teenage girls teenagers, period, having to bow to the pressure of, I need to get noticed, social media is such a big deal that I have to stand out?
Well, and again, I have to ask, why? I mean, I don't know. I guess, like you say, I grew up in a different generation, but I still have a hard time understanding, do people have too much time on their hands? Is no one busy these days? You hear about all these people who are saying, oh, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, but yet they've got time to choose to take a picture of themselves without clothes on. Don't you have better ways to utilize your time in this day and age? Like, I don't get it.
They do.
I just don't get it.
Well, they do have better things to do, and that involves trolling on social media. Great segue, Bonnie. Thanks for setting me up on that. And so again, my original tweet that I posted earlier in the week, which it's still there, people were thinking that, oh, he's going to go and delete it now because he caused a stir. No. Bonnie knows, as a newspaper columnist, your job is to get a reaction out of people. And it's to present points of view, whether people agree or disagree. Sometimes you give an extreme opinion just to see what people think. And mission accomplished, I would say. So my original tweet was, seems like appropriate reading for hashtag Claudia Conway. And then it's got the title of the article, which again is, hey kids, have more self-respect than taking nude pics for attention. And there's a link to the story. So now we unleash the mob minutes later. Here's the replies. These are only a few of the replies, Bonnie. Because what's interesting is that a bunch of the people go and block me or delete things. We've got them all. Don't worry, everybody. We absolutely have all of the replies. So somebody says, you're literally implying it's Claudia's fault for taking nude photographs that this happened to her. How can you not see that this is victim blaming, bro? Okay, first question, Bonnie, you were an English scholar because we both took journalism. Can you literally imply something? How do you literally means actually?
Yes.
So imply is not actual.
Exactly. And it tells me that person's agenda is to make assumptions, to stir up the masses, right? And put it out there for people to pick up and join in. There's nothing wrong with stating your opinion. And you know how it all goes in this day and age, where if you don't think the way I do, then there's something wrong with you, right? You've got to think the same way as the masses, it seems. Still, you can get your point across without calling names, making assumptions, and at least giving the other person, well, both sides. Oh,
There we go. All right, let's continue. Here's another reply that I got. Apparently it's illegal to have a nude photo of yourself. Like, damn, grow a brain. Yeah, it kind of is illegal, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, if you're 16. But there was a group in Canada that was actually telling kids it's illegal to distribute, to send out texts of child porn. Yes, that's not the argument that we're having. But you're also creating it. So as a teenager, if you are doing it, you are creating illegal content. So is it illegal to have a nude photo of yourself? For me, as a 30-some, no, it's not. For Bonnie, as a mother, grandmother, no, it's not. For a 16-year-old, yes, it is. That's the difference here. And so a lot of this mob, when they were coming at me, I mean, it's hard to sort of, judge how old they are, but when I look at their pictures and the other tweets that they've tweeted, because some of them really were just looking for a fight. I know Tim's telling me we've got to wrap up, Bonnie, because Bobby Moynihan from NBC's Mr. Mayor is on the line waiting to join us. But here's somebody else. Your article stresses the idea that nude photos are taken for somebody else's attention. Okay, so let's just stop there. I know, just like Bonnie said, I can go into a mirror. I know what my body looks like. Why would I need photographic proof?
It's a choice they're making, whether it's because of peer pressure, or they're feeling self-conscious, they want to build their own confidence, and they think that's the way to go. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
Right. So the full sentence, your article stresses the idea that nude photos are taken for somebody else's attention, but how can that be when Claudia did not take the image for anybody? Well, I'm interested to know how they got this insider information. We're seeing the girl make this plea after the fact, after she just raised hell and potentially could get her mom, criminal charges for proposing. Anyway, this particular situation is exactly about a parent posting their child's picture, and that parent is the sole person to blame in this instance. What I see is a bitter 36-year-old man who wants to blame kids for behaving like kids instead of focusing the energy inwards and addressing his own shortcomings and ignorance.
Behaving like kids?
Oh, there's so much to dissect in that whole rant.
Wow, isn't there?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that, JB?
Well, here's the thing. My exact reply is, if you're old enough to understand selfies and the internet, you absolutely should be able to expect a 16-year-old to act responsibly. That's a direct quote that I tweeted.
Absolutely. Yep, rightfully so. Someone
fires back, never in any situation is the victim, in all caps, victim in a situation to be blamed for the situation happening. So we're going to read that again. Never in any situation is the victim in a situation to be blamed for the situation happening. The example I gave to you earlier, Bonnie, I'm walking on the street. I knowingly step in front of a moving car. Most people would say that I'm the victim because I'm the human and the car is the big, scary bad guy. But it was my action that caused it. So you can feel bad that I was a pedestrian and I got hurt. But the bottom line is I'm not a victim. Where's that line that we consider somebody a victim or not? The girl created the content, took a picture. I'm not saying that what Kellyanne Conway did, the mom, I'm not saying what she did is right. We're not even talking about that. My column is telling kids, namely, why are you doing this? Don't be stupid. For this exact reason. I'm glad
Can you say accountability? Seriously. She made a choice, this 16-year-old. She made a choice. And it's up to her to be accountable for that choice.
What's interesting is that when I say the mob, it was largely, this isn't a generalization or a stereotype, it was largely young girls. And again, like I said, I don't know their ages, but it was young girls that were firing back at me. And, they were attacking my gender and my age. Here's somebody else. Surely if you have a 16-year career, you need not resort to being controversialist by not only defending child abuse and distribution of child pornography, but by creating false dichotomies to cover your ass. Here's somebody who just went to a thesaurus or just thinks they know big words and is going to throw a bunch out of them. To me, that's a serious charge. If you're going to say you need not resort to being controversialist by not only defending child abuse. I'm defending child abuse and distribution of child pornography? Bonnie, you read the column. Was I defending child abuse and distribution of child porn? That's a big claim.
Wow. It really makes me wonder, where do they get this from? They're not even stating any actual information from your article. They're just stating their own assumptions about your article.
This is why I hate people like you, because you don't care what you say as long as it generates clicks, money, etc. You don't care if your rhetoric is hurtful to people. What was my rhetoric in telling kids to be safe?
Well, exactly.
Again, another $10 word, right? Rhetoric, dichotomy, controversialist. I mean, these are teenagers who are going up against a 30-some-year-old guy who, again, majored in communications and journalism and English and whatever. Here's somebody, I'm glad that you feel accomplished in life. That's great for you. However, that does not detract from the fact that you are a 36-year-old man who is blaming a 16-year-old girl for acting like a 16-year-old girl. It's a fact that you are short-sighted, not an insult. Do better.
So in other words, the tables could be turned there. In other words, you're saying all 16-year-old girls act that way? She was acting like a 16-year-old girl. Oh, that's a pretty big statement to make.
Does that really excuse, her actions? Kids can do stupid things, just like adults can. And so my reply here, insults and name-calling really tarnish what could be a civil dialogue, and they make the offender look petty and juvenile. Thoughts?
Oh, dear. Oh, my goodness.
Here's the thing. Bonnie, let me just tell everybody, Bonnie and I worked together, I would say 15 years ago at a publishing company. We did not always agree. We had very vocal disagreements. It never resulted into me. I call her names jokingly, teasingly, but I'm saying in the heat of an argument, never did we resort to cheap shots about your family, it's just, now again, 15 years ago, things weren't like that. But like you just said, Bonnie, if you don't agree with me, you've got to now somehow drive me into the ground and stomp on it until you're the winner in the debate.
Well, I guess neither one of us felt insecure. And obviously a lot of these young people who have been slamming you are feeling very insecure. They say that's when people make comments that are derogatory just so they can feel better about themselves, right?
And the thing is,
that's sad. That's sad to think there's so many people out there that are suffering from that.
And what's interesting then too is because I'm one of those people who I don't really fire back at people on Twitter because I have better things to do with my time, as we've sort of talked about. But so after these people who continually come at me and fill up my inbox or whatever it is and thrash me, so I block somebody, and then of course we have access to everything. So the person then tweets with a picture of my profile, blames children for making childish mistakes, then blocks people for calling him on his ignorance. Successful columnist who's had a great career indeed. It has been a great career, and a successful columnist, 16 years writing for the same newspaper and 15 years hosting the same radio show, blames children for making childish mistakes. I think the word child is being misused here. Child is 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old for making childish mistakes. You are 16 years old. You're a teenager. You're not a child.
Yeah, you're driving a vehicle, probably. That's a big responsibility. You're no child at 16.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it goes back. We have to wrap this up. They're yelling at me, Bonnie. But it goes back to the fact of having a civil discussion and then resorting to name-calling and insults. Yes, because I'm a 36-year-old guy or 16-year career, whatever it is, that's irrelevant. The point is, I wrote a column telling kids to have more self-respect, have more self-worth. No different if I called Bonnie's grandson and said, you know what? You don't really need to do that kind of stuff to get attention. Why don't you try be loved for your mind and your personality rather than your body? Bonnie would not be mad at me for doing that. I mean, you're helping a child. You're fostering a sense of protection and saying, look, that's not the right thing to do. Don't. But somehow, in promoting that commentary, I was the bad guy, Bonnie. I'll give you the final word on it.
I think a lot of these kids, teenagers. Let's keep the right wording here, the right terminology. A lot of these teenagers aren't doing anything for anybody else but themselves. And the fact that they've just come out and threw all that stuff at you, it saddens me to think that that's what that generation is doing. It's a shame. They should be out there helping other people rather than pulling people down. And
a teenager is taking pictures of themselves that are wrong, that are going to get the girl in trouble. And if anybody should be learning from this, it's teenage girls. Rather than defending what another teenage girl did, learn from that. Because I don't know, is this enough to change their way of thought? No, it seems like they're just going to be now kids against moms or kids against parents at this point. That's what it's drawn the line to go and say, parents shouldn't do this. Parents should respect the kids. Well, the kids should respect themselves first. And that's the point of the column.
Absolutely. If they can't respect themselves, how are they going to respect anyone else?
Absolutely. Right? And you know what? We respect Bobby Moynihan from NBC's Mr. Mayor, don't we, Bonnie?
We certainly do.
We're going to get to him right after the break. Thanks, Bonnie Winters, for joining us today.
Hey, good chatting with you, JB.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
He's my kind of PR guy, I have to say. Bobby Moynihan from Mr. Mayor is joining us on the line to talk about the NBC show. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, doing well.
Good, good. Now, I have to say, we work with comms and PR people every day, and you're not that far off, let me tell you, all right? There is some legitimacy to how you're portraying a communications department.
That's scary, but amazing.
That's, I think, what makes communications and PR fun, is that it's just off-the-wall personalities and people who you just sort of look at from a distance and go, wow, you're fascinating, but how?
Yeah, those are the funnest characters to play, I think. But there seems to be a lot of them in politics.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the funny thing, too. Aside from all of the nastiness of the Trump administration, I almost wonder how many of your characters were based on these clueless... Well, anyway, we won't get into that, okay?
I actually don't think it's a lot. I think it's a lot more... It's less about politics and a lot more about people who are just trying to do a good job, but maybe aren't.
Absolutely. It's an unintentional cluster F. Maybe that's a good way to say it.
Yeah. That's
in case somebody hasn't seen the show, I mean, this is the kind of comedy that I like. It's not that the characters are setting up punchlines for each other. I mean, this is a fast show. At one point, I have to say, I think I read an email on my phone for about 15 seconds, and I missed a bunch because you really need to pay attention when you watch this show, right?
Yeah, it's dense. Tina and Robert are brilliant writers, and it pays to listen and go back and watch again because you can miss something very quickly. But I enjoy how much they can pack into 22 minutes.
Well, they pack it, I mean, sprinkle in a bunch of celebs as well that just sort of appear, right? Chrissy Teigen, David Spade, Andy McDowell.
Yeah, we got very lucky. There's a lot of great ones to come as well. It gets better and better.
I've got to ask you about the physical comedy in terms of, falling back off the chair or choking during a press conference. That just looks so much fun. Do you enjoy physical comedy?
Yeah, I think I definitely do. I grew up on Chris Farley, and, I definitely do. I think Tina knows that about me and sort of tries to write towards it. Same thing with Robert. And I enjoy it. I like putting my body in harm's way.
Is it easier to work with that group of people then? Because, as you say, they know you, they know what you like, they know what you're good at?
I don't know if easier is the right word, but there is definitely a familiarity to it. A lot of the... Tina runs her shows and Robert, they run their shows like SNL. Like, you're expected to be pretty efficient, and I enjoy that. I've gotten used to that over 9 years on SNL, so it definitely helps. It's also it's nice to be in that environment and not have it with the chaos of it being live. It's nice to have it with a modicum of pacing to it.
Could you imagine if Mr. Mayor was live? That's a fast pace. You'd be on the tip of your toes the whole time.
There's absolutely no way I would get through it. I couldn't memorize all those lines. No way. It's so good. I'm really glad that we get to perfect certain little bits and scenes because that's
Now, everybody who's shooting shows during, lockdowns and quarantine or whatever we want to call it now, everybody's always asked how the shooting has changed. So how did you guys work through this production schedule when you were, when there were so many restrictions in place?
I think like everyone else, slowly, carefully, and patiently. We filmed a couple episodes before the lockdown, and then we got locked down, didn't shoot anything for almost a year, maybe it's 9 months or a year, something like that, and got to know each other over Zoom. And then when we came back, it was a learning curve. We just met these people, but we also had a rapport over Zoom and kind of knew each other more intimately than we would have if we hadn't had that time. So when we came back, it felt like a reunion for a show that hadn't started yet. And but as far as all the COVID stuff goes, like, it felt extremely safe, and you did it a lot slower, but it was also very efficient, and it's a very good crew. We still got done fast, even with all the testing and stuff was the longest part of it, and we would get to shoot and have a good time.
Yeah, it's great to see that the entertainment world is sort of coming back now, gradually, in a sense.
Yeah, it sometimes feels silly with everything that's going on in the world, but you go like, it's there. It's entertainment's there to help people too. But,
well, absolutely. Yeah, it lets us forget about it.
Complain about anything in these times.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the antics the team is getting up to in the next couple of episodes?
A lot of great stuff. The next episode is an amazing one. This is like the last one we shot before the pandemic stuff, and then after that is all post-pandemic stuff. But gosh, I don't want to give anything away. It's all so good, but a lot of fun stuff. I think episode 4 and 6 are my favorites of the whole thing. Just in my own personal opinion, but I'm trying to give you something without giving anything away. I don't want to ruin it.
Okay, how about okay?
For getting fired for spoilers.
Sure. Let me do this. Let me have you describe it. Aside from using words like funny, incredible, give me one or two words to describe the episodes that'll make us look forward to it.
Wow. Character progression.
Oh, all right.
I don't know.
See, that is spoiler adjacent. Can we call it that? Spoiler adjacent. Now we have to watch.
Good. I'm glad. Yes.
Well, we can focus on the past though. But I gotta say, Ted Danson high while in character. Do you think that's the same as Ted Danson high in real life? How much was acting?
Yes, I hope so. Yes, I think if I ever get the chance to smoke anything with Ted Danson, well, maybe not anything, but if I ever get a chance to smoke weed with Ted Danson, I'm going to take him up on it.
See, now this is the funny thing here, Bobby, is that if anybody hasn't seen the show, they have no idea what we're talking about.
Exactly, and I hope they don't see it.
But actually, there is some...
I'm kidding, I hope they do.
Absolutely, yeah. There is some truth to life. So when people watch the show and then they hear about the mayor's schedule, I'm sure people think, do mayors really do that? That can't be real. Now, here's the deal. When my dog died last year, the mayor of my hometown called into the show to send condolences. So mayors actually do have to do that kind of crap. It's very, very weird.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that? Now, yeah, my dog wasn't a blogger.
Somebody heard that and based it on that.
Yeah, my dog wasn't a blogger. He wasn't big into writing, but still a broadcast personality. What about SNL? Are you going to be heading back to SNL for any appearances in the future?
Yes, I'm going back every week. No, I don't know. It's funny. You hope for that call all the time ever since you left. At one point, I got a phone call saying, "Hey, are you around this weekend to come back?" And I was like, "Wow, I don't know if I want to fly during a pandemic right now." But then it was like, "No, we'll get you here." And it seemed safe. I was like, "Oh, I should do it." And then it got cut, and you just go, "Oh yeah, there it goes. There's that SNL feeling again." So I almost went back, but didn't happen. Hopefully, sometime soon.
I was going to say,
that place. I would always love to go back.
When you said about going back week after week, I think that's called stalking, Bobby. I'm not sure that's allowed.
It works. It's fine.
You're in. You've gotten in there.
Okay. exactly. I know some people.
We'll be watching Mr. Mayor. Bobby, when can we catch it on NBC?
Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on NBC.
All right, everybody.
7 p.m. Central, and you can catch it on Peacock for streaming.
As we always say, check your local listings, right? That's the old school way. Check your local listings, everybody. You'll find it.
Check your local listings, yeah. Google it up.
Google it up. Bobby Moynihan, thanks so much for joining us today. It was great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,